What's up guys, Ryan with the MXG channel, back today with another bicycle video. Don't worry, it's probably the last one for a while for you guys that aren't into it, but I dropped one a few days ago talking about how motorcycle guys could benefit from e-bikes, and whether it be pit transportation, cross training, GNCC's got a race class for it, multitudes of different ways. And you guys that have been at events probably see the direction it's going with so many people on the e-bikes. And you're probably already somewhat familiar with the high-end class 1 competitive e-bikes. This would be like the Specialized Turbo Levo and the Intense Tazer, stuff like that. What you're probably not familiar with is that you have some much cheaper options that are still a blast to ride, arguably more fun to ride than the competition bikes. In the last video, I showed you the Aoster Motor S17 1500 watt rear hub drive bike. We went over some of the pros and cons of that. And today I'm going to show you an option that might be even cheaper for you and faster as well. So this is a 2008, I believe, Trek 4300. This was not originally a bike. This is a homemade conversion. And the cool thing about this bike is this has a lot, this is an old bike, guys. It has a lot of regular mountain bike miles on it. And then kind of life gets in the way. This bike gets put in the shed, doesn't get used for years, was almost given away or sold a couple times. And luckily it wasn't, because I discovered this kind of e-bike industry and I've become really interested in it. And I decided to put a Bafang conversion kit on this bike. So basically, Bafang sells a mount-up conversion kit to make pretty much any of your old hardtail bikes an e-bike. And it's a blast at that. Because these are not a hub drive, this is a mid drive, you can get a lot more torque, guys. This is the Bafang BBS02 motor. It runs at a 750 watt continuous, peaks up around 1400 watts, and I think it's around maybe 130 Newton meters of torque. Let me tell you, if you put this bike in the lowest gear, if I put it in the lowest gear and try to go up a very steep hill, I start pedaling with it, this thing will loop out if I'm not careful. I mean, it is a load of torque, and this isn't even close to the most powerful motor you can get. This one's been out for 5 or 6 years. It was super affordable. That's why I went with it. So it's crazy what you can get for these things now. You can get motors that are, 1,500, 2,000 watts, probably, depending on your controller and stuff. So total cost of a setup like this, we already had the bike, and if you don't already have a bike, you could do this to a Walmart bike, guys. You can do this to pretty much anything. The only stipulation for installing this kit is that your bottom bracket has to be from 68 to 73 millimeters wide, which is almost all hardtail bikes. So you're able to pick up this motor on Amazon for around $300 or $400, and you can in fact get the entire kit. That's the motor, crank arms, the battery, all the wiring, the display. You get a perch, you get perch with brakes, you get the tools you need to do it. You can get all that for under $1,000. Most of your cost is going to be in the battery. This was right at around $1,000 for this kit, and 500 of that, 480 of that, I think, was the battery. And that was because I went with a larger 20 amp hour battery, which I realized I don't even need at all. So this Trek 4300 was originally a 24 speed. And when you install this front conversion kit on, you only get one sprocket on the front, but you still utilize all your gears on the back. So now it's essentially an 8-speed. And it works out great because in the lowest gear, it will billy goat right up any, I'm not talking a road or something at the track, I'm talking about a mountain bike trail. It will go up a steep mountain bike trail almost without pedaling at all, because yes, I've got the half twist throttle up here. This kit comes with a thumb throttle as well, but you can switch it out for a twist throttle for like 12 bucks. So you've got 8 speeds of gearing. In the lowest gear, it's a torque monster. In the highest gear, this thing with me on it will do about 30 miles an hour on the road, which is as fast as you really want to go on one of these things. So I've told you the top speed with me on it. Now I know you want to know the range. I upgraded to the 20 amp hour. It's called a Shark battery, guys. It sits right here. It clips in here and slides down. And I upgraded to the 20 amp hour, and I've never killed it. I put hundreds of miles on this bike, and I've just never had the time and ability to ride far enough to kill it. And don't tell anybody, but when I get out on the mountain bike trails on this thing, a lot of times if I get tired, I stop pedaling completely and just start using the twist throttle. It's a blast. It's really refreshing if you're a motorcycle guy, and you have the choice here if you want to pedal when you want. If you want to pedal assist, you can turn the assist off, and the bike's not very heavy. This whole kit doesn't add that much weight at all. It's not going to be as heavy as a hub drive bike or something like the Aoster motor that I showed you. Now guys, yes, it's true I work on dirt bikes, but I have never done any work on a mountain bike whatsoever, and I was able to install this kit in less than an hour. It's as simple as using the tool to back off your old crank out of your bracket down there, mount up this motor, put a nut on it, tighten it down, new crank, put the crank arms, put the pedals on, and that is good to go. You also need to mount up your battery plate. Sometimes you can use the stock water bottle holes here if you didn't go with too big of a battery. My battery was huge, so I had to drill and tap new holes for that. No problem there. You'll also need to run, you'll have to install a new brake line perch because your brakes have cutoffs in it for the power. And then you also want to install a gear shift sensor right here, so that way when you shift gears, it kills the power as well. So I mentioned with the hub drive e-bike that it was great around the pits, around the track, stuff like that to get you from A to B, but you're not going to go out and win any, you're not going to take it out and do any crazy mountain biking with it. This one, you can. Now you're not going to enter mountain bike races, you're not going to enter the GNCC race class or anything like that, because this is not a legal class 1 bike. It's got a throttle, it works differently than a torque sensor and all that. But if you're a guy that likes riding mountain bikes but not racing them, this is probably going to be for you. You'll be able to get this out on the mountain bike trails with no issue. This thing's going to climb any hill you need to climb. Now, are there any downsides to this? Are there any downsides to converting this bike, or are there any downsides to this mid-drive setup compared to the hub drive? One I can think of is wear on your chain and your cassette. I've already worn out a cassette. It was the original one. It was pretty old, but because you're able to shift gears, your chain line isn't always perfect, and this is a lot of power. When a human's pedaling, they're putting about 100 watts of power in. Like I said, this thing's 750 continuous, can peak it up to 1400 watts. So that's really more than this bicycle chain is made for. I snapped the old chain, put a new one on it, haven't had any trouble. Like I said, it was all original components on this thing, so I'm anxious to see how long these new components work. Now, another con would be if you do break the chain, you're stuck. You have to push the bike out because it's not a hub drive. But like I said, that hasn't happened to me on the trail yet. A pro, I would say, is that because of the mid-drive setup, you can change this front sprocket. You can make it smaller or bigger if you need to climb hills, or if you need, if you're doing more commuting. So you have a little more options to play with the gearing than you do on other bikes. Guys, this bike has so much torque. Me, at 220 pounds, I can pretty much ride this around any mountain bike trails without ever pedaling if I choose to. And this is the BBS02. The more updated version of this motor would be the BBS HD. That's going to give you 1000 watts continuous. And if you're really crazy, there's options that are way more powerful than that. Now, when you get on Amazon to order this kit, it's going to give you several different options. The BBS O2 kits are available right now. I don't know about the HDs. It's going to give you a display option. I went with the DPC 18. It's really nice. It's about $100, but it looks good. It's got a USB charge out on it. It's very bright. You can see it in the sun, no problem. I also recommend swapping to a twist throttle. So there you have it, guys. I'd say a bunch of you probably have an old hardtail like this sitting around in your garage, whether it's a Trek or a Gary Fisher or whatever it is. Most guys have something like this sitting around. For less than $1,000, you can turn that into a pretty sweet, pretty fast e-bike that you're going to be able to do tons of different things on, including pit transportation, mountain biking, all the good stuff. So if you guys have any questions about this build specifically, or about e-bikes, whether it be the competitive class 1s, hub drives, homemade stuff, let me know down in the comments section. I'll be keeping an eye on that to have a conversation with you guys. I hope you guys have got something out of this short series I put on bicycles, letting you know that if you have a use for an e-bike, an e-bicycle, then you have options other than a $10,000 torque drive competitive class 1. Thanks so much, guys. Hit the subscribe button. I'll see you in the next video.